I'm sorry, I'm just trying to convert this into words. I want to put this in a video to record it and just remember. I don't think I'll ever need a video to remember this, but I want to record it. I just had the most profound experience of my life. I think I just realized a whole bunch of stuff about the truth of existence, and I'm realizing that it's not something that I didn't already know. It's something that I forgot about. I lost this secret of the universe whenever I was a child. And I don't want to describe this or use too many words here. I just want to use all the right words so that it's short. But I think I just realized something that I learned as a child when my brain was still developing, and I totally forgot about it. I won't get into the reasons why I forgot about it. That's not even important. But I experienced this whenever I was a child, and it's been gnawing on my subconsciousness for maybe over 30 years. I don't know. I can't do math right now. I don't want to overanalyze anything. But duality is a lie. The quantum is reality. That might not mean anything to anybody, but I think that might be the simplest way to say it. Now, just give me a minute to verify something and explain this a little bit better, because it might sound confusing or throw some people off from different perspectives. If you're a physicist and you just heard what I said, then you're probably thinking, that's just oxymoronic. This guy's an idiot. Okay, and if you're hearing it from a religious perspective, then you're probably thinking, oh, this is sacrilege. I know where this is headed. I'm going to turn the video off before it gets there. Well, just hear me out, okay? Because from the standpoint of physics, what I'm saying is our perspective on reality is based on outdated Newtonian theories. And if you're looking at it from a religious perspective, then what I'm saying is our whole concept or theology on reality itself is false, because it's based off of Greek philosophy. It's based off of the theories of Socrates, Plato, and later Augustine, which reinforced these ideas of dualism and that we're separate from God. And when it comes to the true God and true science, they each actually verify each other. It's a pretty interesting concept that just so happens to work and fit. So just hear me out, okay? Humanity right now is in two places simultaneously, and we don't know that. But it's not even that we're in two places, we're actually in one place, but we're fixated on a tiny portion of everything that we actually are, because of everything that we're connected to in this universe and in other dimensions. And I understood that whenever I was a young child, but I forgot about that. And I lived in that when I was a young child, but I forgot. I lost it. And everything in me has been deteriorating. Every bit of my existence has been surrendering into entropy since I lost that secret. But I just got it back. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to live my life like I just got it back. That means every video I've made on this channel is absolutely meaningless. It's not, in the sense that everything that stands in resistance to me being alive, every opposition, every force that pushes back on my will and integrity to know truth, all of that stuff and the way that it's made me react in the past, I'm going to look at it as wisdom from now on and just leave it at that. Guys, I just had a flashback of whenever I was a young child, maybe 4, maybe 5. It was before I started going to school, I think. Just remembering like this hidden file buried deep in my subconsciousness of experiencing this. It's a memory, but it was almost more than a memory. It was like I was connecting. I was there again. Because honestly, I believe that in the quantum, time is not linear. All time is connected. So it's almost like I relived the memory. I didn't understand how incredible my understanding was at that age. To me, it was just normal back then. But now I understand how incredible my mind was. And now I'm trying to get... No, I'm not trying. I just got that back. I'm not going to try anymore, okay? I'm done with self-effort. No, I had it the whole time. I just had to gain access to it. So I'll go a little bit back into more detail about what I just said. That duality is a falsehood, and we're actually in both places at the same time. Our conscious mind has lied to us in trying to perceive reality as being linear and perceive matter as being solid. But it's not. It's actually all energy. It's all energy that's slowed down. And that means that our senses are evolved to sense the way that everything has slowed down. But it's really all energy. It's all energy, and I think ultimately we have the God-given ability to choose our reality. Not a false reality, though, because it doesn't work. It gets stagnant. Life gets stagnant in a false reality, but in a true reality that comes from the quantum. And I'm just going to refer to the quantum. I'm going to say quantum, the kingdom of heaven, God. There's no separation with where we are when we're awake and God. We have to realize how big everything is. We can't live trapped inside of the perception of our senses, because there's so much more beyond that we don't see. We don't know how to pick it up or perceive it unless we remember. From now on, this truth that I just shared with you, I'm going to choose to believe in it more than I believe in what my own eyes see. What my own cognitive capability in my conscious mind tells me something is. When I look at a solid piece of matter from now on, I'm not going to believe what my eyes are telling me about that thing. It's not that I can't trust my vision. It's just that I don't want to take it at face value. How about that? That means anything in my environment, my surroundings, when I'm awake from now on, I'm not going to take it for face value. If I see something And even if it makes sense in my own intellect, I'm not going to trust my intellect anymore. I'm not even going to trust my intuition anymore, because that's still not deep enough. I'm not going to trust my instinct anymore. I'm going to trust God. I'm going to trust. I'm going to reach my hand into the shadow and come out on the other side, and I'm going to interface with real truth from now on. How about that? How about that? I'll leave you guys with that. I think that's all I really need to say. I'm going to say this and claim it and believe it, that my heart was just reborn. I feel brand new right now. Everything feels new right now. I'm sitting here in a truck. But I'm not. I'm in so many other places right now. I'm everywhere right now. So, truth. What is truth? If something is right, does that mean it's true? If something's wrong, does that mean it's a lie? Or is that just the completely the wrong way of looking at it? Is that principle based off of external conscious perception? The last thing I told you guys is that I'm in every place right now. That probably doesn't make a whole lot of sense to most people. Maybe some people, I don't know if people can relate. Don't worry, guys. Am I losing my mind? No. Why? Because it's already gone. It's already gone. Oh no, Jared. Oh no. What'd you take? What'd you do? I took a hit of pure consciousness. That's what I did. I just stopped everything. I stopped time. I stopped my own perception of time. That's really what I did. I stopped my own perception of time. I stopped my own perception of self. And I stopped my own perception of my surroundings, my environment. I said, nope, I'm not going to rely on my own understanding of reality. I'm going to stop trying to judge what's right and what's wrong, and I'm just going to simply give way to gravity and just fall into myself. I'm going to stop looking for all these answers in an external way, and I'm just going to fall into myself. I'm going to let go, and I'm going to let my conscious awareness collide with the unknown. I'm just going to fall into the abyss of myself and see what I find in the unknown. And if you guys didn't know by now, that's what I've been doing for the past, since February this year. You know what I've discovered? It's taken a lot of patience and a lot of grace, and a lot of just determination, willpower, really. But not like you would expect. Not willpower like, oh, I'm going to get out there, I'm going to get it done, I'm going to get the job done. No, actually willpower to do the opposite of that. Willpower to, maybe for the first time in my life, not depend on my own strength, but simply just surrender to everything that really is. And that's what I mean when I say truth. Everything that actually is truth. To know that, I think, is where all the answers are. I'm a little bit more collected now. Like when I started the video, I had just come out of a 1-hour session of meditation. I've talked to you guys a lot about Dr. Joe Dispenza and how I listen to his books. And well, I actually purchased one of his guided meditation. It's like it's a sound file, and I think it was very effective only because I'm not brand new to it. I've been doing it for a few months now, like I said. So everything that he said, I was already kind of familiar with and used to doing. And well, this time it was more powerful. I'll tell you one thing, it was the most value out of anything I've ever spent $3 on. So I'm literally sitting here in this truck right now at work. I was backed up to a dock getting live unloaded, and I was like, okay, now's the perfect chance. I'm just gonna listen to this. I didn't even plan on doing it in that moment. I planned on listening to it and doing it later, like after I get off work, I go home, before I go to sleep. It was so profound that I couldn't help it. I engaged, and I listened to what he was telling me to do, and I did what he said to do. And everything that he was, it's like it just happened. It just happened. And that's when, like I told you guys, I would call it a flashback, but it was different than that, because it wasn't just, it's almost like I was there. It's almost like I saw it in the form of a hologram. Like I went back to this time in my childhood where I remembered my perception. Like I didn't just remember it, I was in it. I don't know how to say it, but that perception that I had as like a 4-year-old, a 5-year-old little boy, it came back to me in that moment. And I remember the things that I experienced back then, and how I used to be able to sit there and I could see into a dimension beyond the physical realm. It wasn't just seeing it, it was like studying it and understanding it. And I said earlier that I learned how to do this, and I don't think that's actually the best way to put it either. I didn't really learn how to do it. It's like we're all born in the knowing of the truth. And it's like the older we get and the more we're conditioned by the external world, the further we become separated from the truth. And when I say the truth, don't think about that in a religious kind of way. Just think about that in a perception kind of way. Like when we're babies, our brain is in one state. Delta. It's the slowest frequency of electrical impulse in the human brain. It's the delta waves. Okay, then we grow up, we get a little bit older. Up until the point that we're like 12 years old, we're in the theta brainwave state. It's our brains speed up a little bit. The frequency speeds up just a little bit. I think it's actually happening faster. I think the external world, what we would think of as evolution, is not really evolution. It's not the true evolution. I think as things speed up on the outside, it's actually counteracting the truth. This actually happens in a shorter amount of time for a lot of kids now. So like they might lose it faster. They might not always have it until they're 12 years old, you know. I remember between the age of 4 years old up until I was about 11, I remember two sides of myself. Now before that point, I can go back and there's a point where the cognitive memory of the outside world falls away. Right? I can't remember recalling external from before a certain point. But I remember when everything started to come together. You know, at some point or another, there was just this state of mind that I was in all the time, whether I was awake or I was asleep. I may have been a baby, an infant, a toddler, where my perception was different. And even when I was awake, everything was energy, and I just sensed everything as energy. But then as my brain developed more and more, that's when things begin to come into, you know, what we would consider physical shape, physical matter. But there was still a transition point where everything was still perceived as energy. I still saw everything as energy, and I actually saw and I studied how matter starts as energy, but then the more you focus on it, the more it becomes a solid object. Okay? That's really what I'm talking about. And the cool thing about that is you're so connected to your source, the source of truth, the source of life, at that point that you're whole. You're whole. You're in need of nothing. You're in lack of nothing. And you're satisfied and you're happy and you're alive and you're fulfilled and you're so connected because everything around you is so connected by these waves of energy. And so you see, at that point, you see how everything is connected. And we're connected in the physical, external world, but that falls inward into the bigger, infinite, timeless. You can't really call it timeless either because it's really all time. All time is there, every time, past, present, future, it's all there. And when I say the quantum field, that's what I'm saying. That's what I mean. And so I just remember as my brain developed between the age of 4 years old to like 11 years old, how I was very aware of all these things. And then distractions in the external world, things like TV. You know, back then when I was a kid in the early to mid 90s, it would have been Saturday morning cartoons. It would have been commercials in between the cartoons. It would have been the toy commercials and seeing all these materialistic things and wanting these things and not knowing why I wanted these things, but just, you know, stuff like that. Then the whole religion thing comes into play, like not really understanding, like, but having to go to church and be immersed in religion, but not really understanding why. But I didn't even really catch on to it until I would say maybe after I was 11 years old. I didn't really catch on or even understand what church was. But I had to go, like my entire life. I had to go. I recall, you know, when I was younger, I was a little kid in the church services and stuff. I would be like laid out on the pew, and I'd be like staring up at the rafters of the ceiling and all the design and stuff in the wood grain, and just watching it come to life and swirl and move. And like, these are things that I paid attention to when I was a kid. And I would drift in and out of consciousness. I'd fall asleep. There were long church services. I'd fall asleep when the pastor was preaching, you know. I'd drift in and out of consciousness, but I would just feel. And I felt the presence of God everywhere. Not just at church, but I felt it at church too. It's like the energy from the quantum field where the source of life comes from. There were things that happened to me, like traumatic things that happened in my early, like my, not early childhood, but as I grew up, got a little bit older, there were things that, were traumatic that kind of caused interference, distortion in my perception of all this stuff. And eventually I became self-aware in an external way. I was very self-conscious. I was overweight as a preteen. I felt self-conscious. I was bullied a lot at school. I was made fun of for, not my family was poor. I wasn't able to wear the name brand shoes and all the fancy clothes and everything, and like all my clothes were hand-me-downs, and they were worn out, and I because of that I developed a social stigma, and I was so self-conscious. I literally shifted from the inside outward, and I forgot about all the internal, and I forgot about the other half of myself and how it connects with this quantum field. I turned from that to being very just absorbed and fixated on external things, and like myself, my external self in the external world, and just being extremely self-conscious and ashamed of who I was. And the bullying and stuff, it accelerated those emotions that I felt about myself. So over time I started to hate myself, and that's where I just completely lost track of everything. Whenever I got a little bit older, I discovered substances, and how when I used these things I could feel certain parts internally. I had experiences, and I enjoyed it, and I had a good time doing it. Well, I got addicted to those things, and then before I knew it, my life was spiraling out of control. But I was addicted to chasing pleasure, these limited, finite moments whenever I was high, and I became obsessed with it. And I felt like that was the only way that I could ever connect with everything that I'm talking about now, the quantum, the other side of myself, the subconscious mind. And I just became obsessed with it, and I disconnected. As I've said before, I didn't really have a father. After the age of 7, my dad was diagnosed with a brain tumor, and he had to have brain surgery, and he wasn't the same after that. He kind of went, he is like borderline schizophrenic, very abusive, verbally abusive. That was actually the case my entire childhood. That was the case, but it eventually led to my parents getting a divorce, and well, at that point he was just so sick that he couldn't really be a father. So I had to grow up in a household with my mom working really hard. She didn't have an education. She had to support us by cleaning houses. She was like a housemaid. And 2 sisters that also, they were going through the same thing that I was going through, but in different ways. And so I just grew up very detached. Never really connected in deep relationships. I had a few of them growing up. I kind of never really had faith in the external world. I kind of, in one way or another, I've always seen through the man-made external bullshit in this world. I never connected with it. I never felt like I fit anywhere in any of it. So I've spent the majority of my adulthood as a very lonely, very disconnected man. but not even really knowing what it means to be a man, not really having any kind of authority figure or anything else like that. Now, I did kind of turn back to religion because some very traumatic things happened to me that kind of, in a way, it opened my eyes, but not completely. I wouldn't say, definitely not completely. In a lot of ways, it helped me, but in a lot of ways, it kind of set me back. Until just a couple of years ago, and I feel like I got free from that religious, legalistic mindset that's not healthy either. That can also cause people to have psychosis, and they just become obsessed with what's right and what's wrong. They want to get their PhD in the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, basically, and they totally overlook the tree of life in the process. And so I'm just really happy right now, you guys. I'm excited that I've connected, and I remember what I was born with. That I feel like I've been looking for it for so long. In my earlier years, I turned to drugs, but before the drugs, I was very depressed, I was very isolated, I was very introverted. And then I discovered that, well, if I take drugs, then that can help counteract the way that I act, and I can actually, do this stuff and connect with people, and people might actually get to know who I am. Because when I'm taking this stuff, I feel comfortable enough to open up a little bit. But little did I know that I was actually destroying myself in the process. So I'm not condoning drug use at all. I'm not. It's a deception. It's a deception. It's not the answer, I can tell you that. I've been down that road. I went really far down that road, and God rescued me from that road. But even after that, I turned to religion, like I said. In the process, I found a wonderful, beautiful woman that also came out of her own past trauma from her childhood. We fell in love. We have 2 kids. And I haven't talked a lot about my family on camera, but I've got 2 beautiful kids with this woman. I've been married to her for 12 years. I'm madly in love with her. The more I learn about this stuff, the more I'm in love with my children, my wife. I also have another son with another woman. He's about to be 17. He'll be 17 this year. And he's growing up so fast, and he's so, I look at my kids and I just see how special they are and how gifted they are. What a blessing it is to be their father. And so I'm connecting a lot with that too. I'm getting a chance here to be the father that my dad, he could never really be. And so I'm just learning a lot, guys. I just turned 40, so I'm getting up there. But here's what I'm thinking. Here's what I'm seeing. Like, I look at this whole truck driving thing, and I'm like, no, I don't want to spend the rest of my life doing this. It makes me miserable. And then I had that whole fallout thing a couple years ago with the SAP program. And I knew whenever I started using that stuff, the legal THC, I knew that it wasn't going to get me anywhere. I knew it wasn't the answer, but I did it anyway. Because I got sick of trying to find the answer. Well, little did I know that I was actually taking a step in the right direction by doing what I did. Because if I hadn't done that, then everything that happened to me losing my job and everything else, all that stuff would have never happened. I'd still have the same job. I'd still be miserable. I'd still be angry right now. And I still feel like I'd still be in the same place. So yes, I lost a lot in a sense. I lost the financial freedom that I had with that job, but in so many other ways I've gained. If I wouldn't have gone through that, then I wouldn't be where I am right now. And it took all that for me to actually discover everything that I'm finding now is actually the real answers, the true meaning of life. It's taken me 40 years to make a full circle on myself and see and discover that the answers were there all along. I've been carrying them this entire time. And anything that I look at myself today and see that I don't like, I know that I can change. I know that I can change. I know that I can be a better, I can become a better person, not through self-effort, but like I said, by discovering that the possibilities are endless, and our answers don't come from the external world. They come from within. And that's what I'm trying to say to you guys. I just remembered all of that. And I know I still have a lot to learn. I still have a long way to go, but the headspace that I'm in right now, and just the connection that I feel as a whole. I talked so much in the past about the truth of your being and the way of your being. And see, when we're fixated on the external world, the way of our being looks very different than the truth of our being. But the truth of our being is there all along. The way of our being could be in complete opposition with the truth of our being. But right now, this meditation, all this stuff that I've talked about on my channel for the past few months, I feel whole. I feel in need of nothing. I don't want, I just want more of life. That's all I want right now. I don't feel like anything in the external could improve my situation or improve who I am today. I feel like there's so much more that I can tap into that's inside of me that I can use to improve the external world. That's what I feel like right now. That's why I'm making this video. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. I don't want to spend too much time talking, but thanks for watching this, and I'll be back with you. I'm trying different things on my channel right now. Different approaches on how to address people and just hold people's attention so they'll listen to what I have to say, because I feel like all this stuff people can relate to, and it's really important that I say these things. But I don't want to just say them. I want to live this. I really want to live this. I want my actions to be louder than my words. Like, this isn't just some theory. I feel like in the past all I've done is just shared theories with you guys, but I want this to be more than that. I want this to be more than just words that I'm speaking to you in a YouTube video. I want this to be my life, my perception. I have felt this in subtle ways this whole time. Like I said, the lacking and the not knowing truth about this has been causing entropy on my soul. It's been corroding me over time. But I feel like all that just shifted, which is it's really awesome feeling. It's an awesome place to be in. But I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy. Take care. Thanks for watching. See you later.